Hey guys, how you doing? Joe and Elijah here for the Scruffy fam. So today we are going to harvest our potato bed. Elijah and I are going to take care of this overgrown mess you see right here. We're going to take the tops off of all of these just to make it a little bit easier to get to and harvest. And once we get the tops off, Elijah and Tasha are going to switch out and then we'll harvest. So come along with us as we do this today. Alright guys, how you doing? Joe back with Tasha this time. So we are going to harvest the potatoes. We got a determinate variety of potatoes. Three different varieties. And what we did was we basically planted on top of the soil and then heaped a bunch of straw on it. And we got a bunch of green growth, and we're gonna see how we do with the actual harvest. And we are definitely potato noobs, and they had these things growing on them, and during our garden tour we thought these may have been tomatoes, but these are definitely not tomatoes. We found out, what are they?
They're apparently potato seeds.
Potato seeds. So
I know nothing about what to do with them. I haven't looked it up yet.
yeah, we don't know what to do with this. So if any of you guys know, comment down below or shoot us a message and tell us, have you ever dealt with these? Do you know what they are? We are not eating them because we know that they are poisonous to humans because of the nightshade family, so we will not do that. But we're gonna go ahead and start harvesting our potatoes and see what we get here. There you go. First one, not bad. Just like jack up anything. So, we have a monster potato here
Oh my god.
that I'm gonna try to deal with. So on the same plant was these little guys. And I'm gonna work this other one out and I'll show it to you when I get to him. Holy cow. This was one of the potatoes.
Wow.
This thing is ginormous. So we have not watered this bed in weeks.
The last time it rained.
Weeks. And this straw insulated so much that the soil's still wet, and the underneath side of the straw is breaking down and wet. What I'm gonna do when we're done harvesting, and there's earthworms right here. When we're done harvesting, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna amend this soil. I'm gonna dig this straw into it and add some of our compost just to reintroduce some nutrients to get this bed ready for whatever we do next in here. Oh, here we go. All right, guys, so had a small camera mishap. It happens, but so we got everything out, we think. So this is our harvest that we got. Now, this is a pretty big bowl. We got, what are the varieties we got, Tasha?
So we've got, these guys are the Red Lesota, and this one is Norcota Russet, and then down here, these ones are Yukon Gold.
And we got a pretty mixed batch of sizes, which we're pretty sure that all three of them had different gestation times or growing times.
Days to maturity.
Yeah, and because of that, some of them probably got harvested a week or two early, but that's okay. We got a fairly large size harvest for what we planted. We're pretty happy with that. We only did half of our bed of potatoes, and I think, how many potatoes did we actually plant?
So they were whole when we planted them. I didn't cut any pieces, and it was one, I think, 3 or 5 pound bag of each. All right, so we are starting to lose daylight now, but unfortunately, Joe's phone overheated when we were doing the harvesting and cut off a bunch of our footage. But hopefully you guys still enjoyed what you got to see. We had a pretty decent harvest. So the 3 varieties that we planted were Norcota Russet, Red Lasota, and Yukon Gold. And I got 1 pound bag of seed potatoes of each of them. And obviously the Red Lasota potatoes were smaller, so we were able to plant more of those plants, which is why we got a significantly bigger harvest of that variety. So I have my final weigh-ins here on my phone. And we had eaten, we really couldn't resist, and so we kind of dove into them. We had eaten, I think, 1 or 2 of each variety before I actually got the final weigh-in. So it's mostly accurate, but maybe add a couple ounces. Okay, so for Norcota Russet, we planted 1 pound and we got back 2 pounds, 2 ounces. So probably a little bit closer to 2.5 pounds, but our russets were fairly small. Get to that next. Yukon Gold, we planted 1 pound and got back 1 pound, 14 ounces. So definitely before we dove into them, had over 2 pounds, so that was also doubled. And then the Red Lasota planted 1 pound and we got back 6 pounds, 11 ounces. So that is actually really cool. I don't know if we quite would have gotten to 7 pounds because, like I said, they're smaller, but we got pretty close. So those are really good yields, especially for our very first time ever planting potatoes. I've never grown them before, so I'm really proud of what we got. However, so as you saw in the video, when we cut back the tops, they were still very, very green. So we really should have waited for the plants to fully die back, or at least mostly die back. They had just kind of sort of started thinking about doing that, but we chose to go by days to maturity. Classic newbie mistake. And so we kind of counted out the days from when we planted and picked a weekend that we were going to harvest and just harvested away. So that being said, they are determinate varieties. So I don't know that we would have gotten any more potatoes than what we did, but I think some of the smaller ones would have been quite a bit bigger. So I think our yield definitely would have been higher had we waited the full life cycle of the plant. The other thing is, because so many of them, we basically harvested them all as new potatoes. Some were pretty big, which was cool, but the downside is they didn't really get that final like hardening stage, and so they're not great potatoes for storage. So we have been eating most of them. Like the Red Lasota, even as I was brushing dirt off, trying to be gentle, the skins were just sliding right off. So we did let them cure, and they are holding up for now. This is probably, it's been a couple weeks now since we harvested. However, they definitely would not be able to survive all winter in storage. So is what it is. Just means we get to eat more potatoes now, and we learned a really valuable lesson for next year. And so one of the other things that I wanted to address, because we are complete noobs and have since learned a lot, is that the little green balls that we saw, we thought were tomatoes. They're not. They are called a true potato seed, and apparently some varieties of potato you can actually grow those. Most varieties, those are sterile, so we just discarded ours. It's not really something I want to get into. Most of the time people use those if they want to actually like crossbreed and get into all of that stuff. That's way more complicated than I want to get right now, and probably ever with potatoes. So next year we will be sticking with our seed potatoes. So we've definitely learned some lessons through this growing season with our potatoes, and there are a few things that we're going to tweak for next year. And we are We are going to set up the bed so that the entire bed is all just potatoes, and I think that'll give us a really great harvest. Plus, if we let them go as long as they're supposed to, I think that'll give us potatoes well into next winter, and that will be super cool. We were definitely very successful with growing them in the straw. However, it mostly just ended up being a really thick mulch. I actually just planted, I didn't even like dig the potatoes into the dirt, I just set them on top. And most of the ones that we harvested were pretty well in the dirt. So I do think that the mulch helped a lot, especially when we had some flea beetles. And so it's something that I definitely would do again next year. And I kind of want to play around with actually getting a couple specifically indeterminate potato types next year to see if we can get some crazy huge harvest off those. Who knows? It's fun to experiment with. The only pest that we really had to deal with was the flea beetles. They ate a bunch of holes in the leaves. The problem with flea beetles is usually they lay their larvae down in the dirt and then the larvae eat holes through your potato. But I think because of that really thick mulch layer that we did, that we didn't have as many issues with that. And we had a little bit of scabbing, but we didn't have, you know, like the worm networks going through the potatoes or anything. Flea beetles ended up not being a huge problem this year, and we didn't really have any other pests on our potatoes, so that's pretty cool. Alright guys, so I think that pretty much covers everything about our potatoes. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope you're able to learn something from this. And if you are a brand new grower, I hope that you will be encouraged by this to go out and try it. We weren't going to plant potatoes until my coworker basically convinced me of how easy they are. And I was like, okay, sure, I guess I can do that. And I'm ridiculously glad that I did. So take this as your encouragement to go out there and try something new, even if you've never grown it before. Sometimes it turns out to be a lot simpler than you think it is. So go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel to see all of our other antics here on our little urban homestead. So the twins will be coming in about 3 to 6 weeks, and so probably content will definitely slow down when that happens. We might post a video about meeting the babies and all that, but we'll have to see how it goes. We're gonna be in the NICU for a little while, so yeah, we're gonna have to play it by ear. Anyway, thank you guys so much for following along with our journey, and hope to see you on the next one. Thanks.